You are rewarded in life by the results you produce, not the effort and time you put in. Jason LaBrash. DC Tribe, Josh Thomas. I want to talk to you about something that changed my life, but it took me a while to figure it out. And I want to talk about being a good person. And what does that really mean? And does it even really matter? And this will all make sense in a little while, but I want to take you back, way back. There was a time in my life where I no longer really wanted to be alive. It was the most difficult moment in my life, and you have to imagine, if you've never been there before, you have to try to imagine your entire body is in so much pain and anguish and frustration that all you want to do is you want the pain to stop. Please just stop the pain. And nothing else works. It doesn't even make logical sense why the only solution that comes to your brain is to end your life, because that's permanent. But sometimes when we're stuck in those situations, we can't see any other solution, and it's the only one that makes sense. And so some time ago in the past, more than 10 years ago, less than 20, I was in that situation. I was in that position. I was in a place to where my life was so bad. My decisions that I made in my own life were so horrible that I was contemplating whether or not I should continue living. And it's not a place that I recommend that anybody be. And if you've ever been there, you get it. If you're still there right now, I'm sorry. The best thing that I can recommend to you is that you go get help. Tell somebody. Ask for help. Scream for it. Whisper for it. Whatever you need. But I want to take you back to this moment. And I was in a situation to where nothing was going right for me. My entire world flipped upside down on its head. All from my own doing. It's all my own fault. And I had this moment where I was seeking validation. Maybe you've done this too. Maybe you've done this recently and not been suicidal, and that's okay. But there was a moment where I was sitting there and I was hanging out with someone who happened to be a therapist. She was not my therapist, but she was a therapist and had a lot of good wisdom and perspective and kind of helped me navigate through this situation that I was in the best way that she could without, becoming my therapist. But I would tend to go to her for advice and clarity. And I was so down on myself. I just needed some external validation. I needed somebody to tell me that it was all going to be okay. And I felt so down on myself. And I looked at her one time and I asked, in desperation, I desperately asked, because I just wanted somebody to tell me. I asked, am I a good person? Sally, this is not her name. Sally, am I a good person? And all I wanted her to do was say yes. Just say yes, I'm a good person. That's what I need right now. I need that validation from you. Please tell me I'm a good person. And, to this day, I remember that conversation. And the reason that I remember that conversation is because she didn't say yes. But she didn't say no either. I remember that conversation because it had a profound impact on me. Because she told me the truth. Because yes is an opinion. No is an opinion. The truth is, it doesn't actually matter what she thinks. That's the truth. What she said to me, her exact words, when I said, Sally, am I a good person? And she said back to me, you don't need to be worried about whether or not you're a good person. You need to pray. You don't need to be worried about whether or not you're a good person. You need to pray. Focus on prayer. Focus on God. Now, that's a heck of a thing to say to a guy that isn't really all that religious to begin with. And at the time, I just thought it was bullshit. That was such a bullshit answer to get. And it bothered me. And it created this cognitive dissonance in my mind. Because I just wanted her to say yes. Why couldn't you just say yes? You're a good person, Josh. If I'd have gone to my mom would have said I'm a good person. Of course you're a good person, honey. I love you. If I'd have gone to one of my friends, they would have said, yeah, of course you're a good person. If I'd have gone to any other family member or colleague, yeah, of course you're a good person, Josh. But is that really helping me? Was that really serving me to get that external validation? And there's nothing wrong with seeking that validation. We all do it all the time. We're all looking for somebody else to say, hey, you're cool. But because Sally didn't, because Sally said, you don't need to be worried about whether or not you're a good person. You need to pray. It took me a long time to really, truly understand what that meant. And years had gone by where I didn't even think about that conversation, where I didn't even think about that question. And I was having a conversation recently with a new friend of mine. And the topic of religion and, internal, external motivation and, what really drives you, that came up. And for whatever reason, this conversation crawled out of the depths of my brain, and I felt compelled to share it. I said, I'm not a super religious person, but I do respect and understand why religions exist, and they absolutely should. And each and every one of them is real, regardless of how literally real they are. It's very real. If you are taking actions or behaviors, or you're being influenced because of something that was written in a book 2,000 years ago, that makes it real, regardless of what reality is. And so this isn't a religious or political debate by any means. But the point of it was, it brought this up, and it made me look at it differently. Almost, we're more than a decade away from this conversation at this point. But it made me look at it differently. All of a sudden, I hadn't thought about this, and suddenly I was thinking about it from a different perspective altogether. Because what Sally was telling me was, stop looking outside for your validation. Stop looking outside for your confirmation. Stop wondering or worrying what the hell I think about who you are, and start looking inside. I can't explain it as well as somebody else, but for everybody I know who really has a strong relationship with God, God lives within. God operates from within. God is an internal force. And what she was saying to me is, you need to pray. If you're not a religious person, you can interpret that as, stop looking outside, start looking inside. Start looking inside for the answers you seek, because that's where they are. The answers you seek are not with me. They're not with these people over there. They're not with your friends or family. They're not with social media. They're right inside of you. And I can't tell you at what point I started getting better. But it was phrases like that. It was that one person who took that little extra effort to invest in me and tell me the thing that I needed to hear, not the thing that I desperately wanted to hear so badly. But just said, Josh, I trust you with this information, even though it's going to be painful and you're not going to like it. You need to stop worrying about whether or not you're a good person. It doesn't matter. You need to pray. And if you don't pray, you need to look within. Because that validation and that confirmation only truly comes from within. If it comes from anywhere else, you're doing yourself and your loved ones a disservice. And so, Sally, if by any chance you happen to be listening to this episode, I appreciate you more than words can ever describe. I appreciate you for not telling me what I wanted to hear, for not taking the easy route, for not doing the thing that everybody else would have done in that situation just to make me feel better, and instead giving me the food and nourishment that I needed in order to grow out of that phase and become the person that I am today. And so I want you to think about this. The next time somebody is asking you for external validation or external confirmation, you can give it to them. And that won't necessarily be the wrong thing to do. But what do they need? Think about that. What do they really need? If somebody's asking you for external validation and confirmation, what they really need is they need to be shown that they don't need it. They need to be shown that all validation and all confirmation comes from within. Find a way to show them that. Find a way to reflect that back to them. Tell them to pray, if that's the thing that they do, if that's the thing that resonates with them. Tell them to look within, if praying's not really their thing. I don't personally pray, but I got the point. I got the idea. And for my new friend, who we sat and had this deep conversation, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for drawing that out of me, because I had no idea how profound that lesson was and how much of an impact it had on my life until we started talking about it. And I want you to think, your words matter to someone. What you do now will have a long-lasting impact on people you will never meet, or people that you meet and forget, or people that you say something to in passing. It will have a long-lasting impact. Whether that impact is positive or negative depends. But you will have a long-lasting impact on someone in your life. And so the best thing that you can ever do for somebody is tell them the truth. Am I a good person? I still don't know. But I don't care. I'm looking inside for my validation and my confirmation that I'm doing all of the things that I can to be the best me that I can possibly be. And you can judge me on whether or not I'm a good person. But that doesn't affect me anymore. Think about that. Go out into the world. Let people know the truth. Don't let people think that it matters whether or not they're a good person. We're going to wrap up this episode of the Do Zone Solos. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If you've got a topic you want me to discuss on a future solo, you can find me on Facebook, or you can go to Instagram at JoshThomas80. You can also find us on our website at thedozone.com for all kinds of really cool stuff. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend about the Do Zone podcast. Until next time, hey, go get something done.